Right now we're in the city of Pasadena, California. We are on our way to go visit with a legend in the movie industry, a man by the name of Eric Sherman.
My father, Vincent Sherman, was a Hollywood studio director. He worked at Warner Brothers. He made more than 30 features there.
Yeah. Is a producer. He's produced everything, documentaries, films. He's been part of television, you name it. He's also an educator. He's a film teacher for a very long time. He's done everything under the sun. Well, why are we meeting with him? Well, we have the unique opportunity to sit down with him and talk with him a little bit about his career. He's been linked and connected to everyone. I mean, Orson Welles, Francis Ford Coppola,
Betty Davis and Joan Crawford and Errol Flynn and all the way up to Paul Newman and Richard Burton.
So we have a great opportunity here today to sit down and talk with truly one of a kind.
My childhood was different because my father was a generous-spirited man. He paved the way for me to have an entrance to all those people.
So this was the film that you really feel more than any other project that you've done that you're most proud of?
Yes, this is a poster for After Freedom, the feature I produced. Of the people I've worked with, Orson Welles is certainly one of the greats. In 1970, I was a young man. I received a phone call from Peter Bogdanovich saying, "Want to work with Orson?" And I said, "Orson who?" He said, "Welles, of course." I said, "Sure." So I went over to a house that Orson had rented in Beverly Hills. And he said, "Hi, son, nice to meet you. Put your camera over there, give me a 23 here." He held up his fingers in a circle where he wanted the lens. He never looked through the camera, but he knew if I was in the exact place that he wanted. Orson had complete control of the set at all times. He would orchestrate about 6 positions, so we'd shoot for 1 hour. And I said to myself, my God, this is controlling a set. So ever since then, I've had my own hidden standards as what it means to control the set. That's I.
Oh, well.
With George Bush, our president. He emailed all of us. We were in the same class at Yale. And he invited us to the White House.
Right.
And I never was that crazy about his politics. He was so gracious, I can't tell you. It made me reevaluate everything I had thought about it.
Really?
Very generous spirited, very personable, seemed to remember me even from what he said. In 1965 through 7, my roommate at Yale made a film called Sally's Hounds. We had no idea what we were doing. I was starring in it, assistant directing it, shooting some of it, and I had never shot a film before. By the time we were done, we knew how to do it. We made every mistake you could make. But since we weren't stupid, we made each mistake only once. We showed the film to a few people. It was a 2.5-hour long feature. And people said, gee, this is good. One thing led to another. We ended up showing it at the Cannes Film Festival and the New York Film Festival. And I was reviewed as an actor in it, and the author of that review became a friend of mine. He was writing for Variety. And one thing led to another, and I ended up making my own first production called Charles Lloyd Journey Within, about a jazz musician named Charles Lloyd, who was thankfully still with us, a wonderful man and musician. And I went all over the world with him, carrying the camera on one shoulder, the tape recorder on another shoulder, the microphone in between. And we traveled the world filming that, and it was the first major jazz documentary. And then I showed that to the same author for Variety, and he called it perhaps the best documentary ever made about a jazz musician. I and Clint.
Yeah.
He's in his mid-80s, he's still making 2 films a year. He always comes in on time and on budget.
How is that, you know?
Very unusual sensibility.
When you have, you know, the formula, you have the formula, I suppose.
Yeah. And he's not interested in perfection, he's interested in getting his message across.
Message.
If we take all the films and videos that I've made, from big features to television series to corporate videos, it's got to be hundreds. As for me and many filmmakers, when we finish a piece of work, we go on to the next one. We have to, otherwise we get stuck at tension. We got over 100 awards for that show, the TV show called Futures. We went to 500 locations, 24 episodes, shot and shot and shot. It was like a military operation. It was impressive. In many ways, I'm quite proud of that. And Escalante loved it, and it was shown all over the world and still being shown. And we had a public relations person working on the Future show. And he said, this is going to get a Peabody. And I said, what's that? I didn't even know. I later found out it's the most prestigious award in television, bigger than the Emmys and everything else.
You know, for you, I think more than anything else, I mean, it's nice, but it didn't pay the next month's light bill, did it?
It did not. Very true.
Yeah. But Futures did.
It didn't hurt. All I can really say to you is, when you get an award of magnitude, you feel good, of course, but it just means there's that many more shows left to make. I've still got to make many shows.
How long did it take you to write that?
6 months.
Yeah.
I read 10,000 pages of interview. This is before word processors existed. I transcribed 85 interviews. When I wrote my second book, directing the film, I was asked to teach. I said, I don't know anything about teaching. And they said, well, if you can write that book, you can teach. So just start talking. And so I started talking, and 38 years I talked about film. There wasn't a huge transition for me. It was getting to others, people's minds and aesthetic awarenesses, those principles that I thought were important. Michael Bay and Zack Snyder and Tarsim, and I have 7,000 students that graduated, and 90% of them work in the film business.
Well, what are their names?
The white one is named Dee Dee.
Dee Dee. Hi, Dee Dee. Hi, Mama. Hi. Okay, good puppy, good girl. What's next? You're in your 70s. You're
Just became 70.
70.
All right. There's a damn good question, which is what's next? And I feel there are situations in the world that can be described with documentary films. I recently met Alfredo, to whom I'm talking right now, who alerted me about a major situation in the country of Venezuela. I knew nothing about it, and I'm not a stupid man, and I read the newspaper every day. I just didn't know. What's happening there must be made public, because if it is, it will change. And I'd like to work with Alfredo and his associate Reynaldo, who was a longtime friend of mine, to see what we can do to bring this situation to light, because it's got to change. We don't want a country to burn up and go south. We will have to talk about rolling up our sleeves. We'll really have to roll them up. And so any assistance we can get from the viewpoint of what we call in our business seed money investors will be appreciated. It'll let us put the full attention on it that we need.
Eric, thank you again for everything. I appreciate you, and
Pleasure.
and we'll be seeing a lot more
good. We want to have a product.
We do, definitely. Thank you so much.
Oh, boy.
Bye.